tonight on News 13.
There's one man who's actually pulling his trailer apart looking. He supposedly has 4 children inside.
6 twisters sweep out of the Rockies, wreck a town, and leave dozens dead. More gunfire on Southland freeways. We will talk to today's victims.
So I saw the arm come out, and I heard a bang on my car.
Southland fires torch landscapes and homesteads. A once jailed con man, is he at it again?
One would say that those funds were misused and that the investors were misled.
And the lightest of beers, happiness instead of hangovers.
It has a lot of malt flavor to it. Very good.
Also tonight, an earthquake rattles Northern California. Good evening, everybody. I'm Wendy Rutledge. News 13 is straight ahead. Stay with us.
Channel 13, KCOP, Los Angeles. From Los Angeles, Tim Malloy, Wendy Rutledge, Mike Chamberlain, Judy Jernad. This is News 13.
6 deadly tornadoes spun out of the Rocky Mountain foothills this evening and smashed into Edmonton, Alberta. At least 32 people dead at this hour, hundreds more are hurt. The storm and its destruction that it brought lasted nearly an hour.
This is what it looked like in the stormy skies over Edmonton at around 5 p.m. A series of tornadoes coiling and touching down, ripping into homes and businesses. The eastern part of the city was hardest hit. Parts of Fort Saskatchewan, Millwood, and Clearview flattened. Water lines and gas lines were severed. There is fear tonight of explosions. Hail the size of baseballs added further insult to the battered city. 24 people were killed in a trailer park, which was reduced to splinters and shards of glass. A TV cameraman, first on the scene, provided this account.
I talked to one eyewitness who was in the trailer at the time, and he said he just got down under the kitchen table and just rolled into a ball. And he said it was amazing to see people crawl out of this thing alive. There's approximately 600 trailers in this park, and it came right through the middle of it. There's one man who's actually pulling his trailer apart looking. He supposedly has 4 children inside.
The torrential rains caused severe flooding, but the winds, which can hit 240 miles per hour at the center of a tornado, did the most severe damage. Many more may be dead in Edmonton tonight. There are reports a 30-block area was wiped out in the northeastern part of the city. Hospitals are jammed, and there are calls out to other Canadian provinces for medical assistance. This picturesque city is right now in a state of shock.
250 people right now are in Edmonton hospitals, but the latest reports indicate hundreds more are trapped under rubble or, in fact, are missing. Those severe weather was forecast tornadoes come alive with very, very little warning. There was some good news out of Washington. President Reagan's skin cancer surgery went very smoothly today. No new cancer cells were found. And yet, the president's medical history prompted concern before the procedure.
The president approached the hospital visit with characteristic cheeriness.
It seems a little over-dignified to call what's going to happen surgery. Could have scraped a little patch on my nose.
But in light of Mr. Reagan's 2 previous operations for skin cancer and surgery for colon cancer, there were medical questions that needed to be answered. The basal cell epithelioma was at the tip of the president's nose. A slice of skin was removed, examined, the cancer type determined, and the procedure completed. The prognosis is good.
It doesn't spread or metastasize, so that if attention is directed to it in any reasonable time frame, the lesion is curable in just about 100% of the cases.
The president emerged after a 4-hour procedure in which a local anesthetic was used, saying he felt fine. One of 400,000 Americans this year will have a skin cancer operation.
Skin cancer is the most common of cancers and is successfully dealt with better than 90% of the time. Just the same, nearly 8,000 Americans died of skin cancer last year.
Defense Secretary CASPAR WEINBERGER testified today that selling arms to Iran was an absurd idea. He was against it from the beginning. Well, that comment just part of an eventful day at the Iran-Contra hearings. More now from Jeff Kamen.
Defense Secretary CASPAR WEINBERGER had been testifying for several hours when suddenly the hearing was disrupted by 2 members of the audience, anti-Contra demonstrators screaming, "Contras kill families."
The hearing will stand in recess until the police restore order.
There was no one of any reliability or indeed any sense with whom we could deal in Iran and the government.
Like Secretary of State George Shultz, Weinberger told a tale of angry frustration, of having strongly opposed the sale of weapons to Iran, and thinking at first that he had convinced the president not to do it.
I told General Powell that I believe this baby had been strangled in its cradle.
But later he received a phone call from then National Security Advisor Admiral John Poindexter.
Well, he said the president's decided this, and there's no more room for argument, something along that line.
So did you take any steps or make any effort to contact the president directly?
No, I accepted Admiral Poindexter's word.
Completing his testimony this morning, former White House Chief of Staff Donald Regan told how he had been frozen out of critical information about the Iran scheme. Regan revealed the president's reaction last December when it was proposed that he issue pardons for Colonel North and Admiral Poindexter.
Yeah, somebody brought it up to him and got shot down right away. That was something the president wouldn't even listen to. The fact that he should grant a pardon. His reasoning went along this sort of line. To grant a pardon means you think somebody's committed a crime. You only pardon for a crime. And he didn't know what the crime was. As yet, there had been no evidence brought to him.
I haven't heard a single word that indicated in any of the testimony that laws were broken.
In that case, do you think that Colonel North, Admiral Poindexter, or others deserve pardons at this point, just to prevent any kind of prosecution?
I am going to speak out of that whole subject and the subject of this whole affair when the hearings are over.
After today's hearing, senators in Norway and Rudman told us they are convinced that President Reagan was given falsified intelligence reports about Iran to encourage him to proceed with the arms deal.
I'm not going to speculate as to who did it, but we all know who was.
Other news now. The United States suffered a major setback today in its bid to make the Persian Gulf safe for shipping. John Abishan reports the U.S. was hoping to get some help from its allies.
Britain says no, it will not send any minesweepers to the Persian Gulf to help the United States. In fact, all major U.S. allies have refused President Reagan's request, but the British minesweeper fleet, part of it seen here, is the biggest and most capable in the West, and Washington had expected help from London. In a visit earlier this month, Prime Minister Thatcher had praised President Reagan's leadership, but the British announcement today was blunt.
I think the worry is that we would increase tension rather than reduce it. The other thing is, of course, these are very long sea lanes. All of the sea lanes run down through the Gulf, proximate to the Iranian coastline, near enough that if the Iranians wish to sow more mines in response to what they regarded as some increase in the presence of warships, they could do so.
The Dutch, who also have sophisticated minesweepers, also said no. And West German Chancellor Helmut Kohl says his Navy has no business in the Persian Gulf. France is sending this aircraft carrier to the Gulf region, but will not send minesweepers. American officials are steaming, silently, at having to go it alone. Since Western Europe gets almost a fourth of its oil from the Persian Gulf, the U.S. only 5%. The mine-damaged supertanker Bridgeton began loading up with oil in Kuwait today after rough seas forced a 48-hour delay. Sometime this weekend, the Bridgeton, the smaller Gas Prince, and their 3 U.S. Navy escorts will begin to pick their way back down through the minefields in the Gulf. Since last week, Navy helicopters, divers, and Saudi minesweepers have tried to clear the channel the convoy must take. The naval expert Norman Polmar says the U.S. move was late.
I think we could have pre-positioned some of our minesweeping helicopters in the Gulf area, at Diego Garcia, in Israel or in Egypt, and not have to, at this late moment, try to put a package together. I think we failed miserably in that respect.
One official says the chances of getting that help from Europe right now are slim to none. But another official adds that even if the Allies say no now, they might rethink their policies when one of their ships gets hit. None of that, of course, helps the convoy this weekend. This is John Abishan at the White House.
Okay, still ahead on News 13 tonight. As the body count climbs and the freeway shootings, what does law enforcement think? Do not be surprised to find some mixed reactions. We'll show you.
Well, you hear what's happening at Bob's. It's our new weekend breakfast bar with all kinds of cool foods and hot foods. And really fresh foods. So help yourself to all you can eat. For just $4.99 at Bob's. Just $4.99?
Sounds crazy to me.
Toyota, looking out for you with a 4Runner, a 5-passenger 4-wheel drive Toyota that's been named #1 in customer satisfaction 2 years running. Looking out for you has made the Toyota 4Runner #1 in customer satisfaction again. Who could ask for anything more?
You see, there's a special kind of blues around these days. Whole new breed, very fresh. That's what make them good. And sweet, they're probably the sweetest blues you'll ever get. Of course you won't find blues like these everywhere, and they won't be around for long. Very tasty.
1987 Bluesberries, on sale now at the Giant.
Home of the blues.
Buying a bargain tire is like buying a bargain parachute. Because all the tire between you and the road is this, about as much as the width of your finger. That's why you should ask for Bridgestone.
Bridgestone's strong suit is strong technology, patented technology like nothing else in the world.
At 65 miles an hour, remember this and remember Bridgestone!
Three more today, 18 since mid-June. It's freeway violence that is not going away, and it's got drivers scared and cops arguing over why. Fortunately, a dent in his Pinto was the worst of it for 30-year-old Gregory Steinbeck, but the shooting incident shook him to the core.
And I noticed in my rearview mirror that a car was accelerating at a pretty good speed. We figured about 60, 65 miles an hour. Then just he was pretty close. He was say 10, 15 feet off my bumper, and just out of the blue, he just moved over to the third lane, came right next to me, and I saw an arm. I was glancing on my shoulder, I saw the arm come out, and I heard a bang on my car. So I just immediately pulled over the shoulder of the road and called the CHP.
The shot into Steinbeck's car happened about 7 this morning on the San Gabriel Freeway. Just 30 minutes later, it happened to Mary Gustitis on the Artesia Freeway. She was so shaken she wouldn't talk to reporters about the object that flew into the passenger window, shattering it to pieces.
A Long Beach couple were traveling eastbound on the 91 freeway at Lakewood Boulevard, at which time the right side passenger window shattered in the lap of the right front occupant. The occupant said she did not see anyone do anything unusual other than a car next to her with the driver raise his hand in an unusual manner and the window shattered.
Southland law enforcement are coming up with mixed readings on these freeway shootings. Some are calling it a serious, dangerous situation on our roadways. Others saying there's nothing to be alarmed about. It happens all the time.
We're finding a lot more people carrying concealed weapons, and I think there's a reason for that. With the amount of violent crime on the rise, people are purchasing weapons to protect themselves.
And I just think that people are more aware right now, and whereas before when someone got his window shot off out on the freeway by a pellet gun or a rock was thrown onto them, they wouldn't report it because it's the way we drive on the freeways. And now I think we're a little more afraid and or aware.
And the third shooting incident happened this afternoon at about 2:45 when a gunman fired a shot at a tour bus traveling on Main Street in Carson. No one was injured. That gunman is still at large. But county helicopters have been ordered out on patrol to watch down on the 357 miles of freeway in LA County for any kind of driving patterns that look suspicious.
Fireworks on a shake shingle roof torched a house in Anaheim tonight. News 13's John North has the story.
Well, I just turned the corner coming home from work and I saw smoke down here and it looked like my house.
When Jack Yoakum arrived at his house in the 1700 block of Holbrook Street, his worst fears had been realized. His wife and daughter were safe, but his 3-bedroom home had been destroyed. This fire is believed to have been started by a fireworks bottle rocket landing on the shake shingle roof. The house next door, which has a composition roof, did not sustain any damage. Other nearby homes received some minor roof damage, and they also had shake shingles, which, according to Battalion Chief Charlie Cannonbley, often give firefighters a bad time.
There were 5 different roof fires on 5 different homes, and interspersed in among these 5 were 2 comp roofs, and those were the only 2 that survived.
Damage to the Yoakum home is more than $100,000, but if there had been any wind at all, firefighters say they could still be chasing the blaze all the way through the neighborhood. In Anaheim, John North, News 13.
And in Pomona today, a wind-swept brush fire burned about 125 acres near the Pomona Freeway. The blaze broke out just before 3 this afternoon. It threatened about 30 homes, but none were damaged. Firefighters had the blaze contained by 6:30. One fireman suffered minor burns on his feet. Officials say the fire may have been deliberately set. Now, if you have any information, they say to call the Pomona Fire Department.
Investigators looking into the crash of a cargo plane near Mexico City yesterday blamed the accident on mechanical problems. 54 people died in that tragedy. Amazingly, 9 of 10 people on board the plane survived. The Belize Air International plane had just taken off. It lost power. One of the landing gear failed to retract, and then it caught a power line.
The aircraft was cleared to depart by the local airport authorities, and 4 miles from the end of the runway struck a high-tension power wire, causing severe damage and loss of airspeed. The crew at this point made every effort to land the aircraft in a vacant lot, but due to the extent of the damage and the prevailing weather conditions, were not completely successful in avoiding the congested areas.
The plane also carried 18 horses from the Mexican equestrian team. 2 of those horses survived.
Now an update on an accident at LAX we told you about last night. A SkyWest commuter plane collided with a Delta jet as the Delta plane backed away from the terminal. News 13 has learned from FAA investigators the SkyWest plane had been cleared to taxi to the gate after landing. But controllers did warn the SkyWest pilot to watch out for that Delta plane. Each aircraft suffered minor damage. Nobody was injured. The FAA says the investigation is continuing.
Fire officials in Nevada say they have partially contained that massive brush fire near Lake Tahoe that has blackened more than 6,500 acres. Now, the fire started Wednesday night near the town of Woodfords, about 25 miles away from the Lake Tahoe resort area. Gusting winds fanned the blaze into an inferno. It raged through the countryside, destroying 30 homes, countless barns and outbuildings. Today, many of the 250 people who were evacuated Wednesday were allowed back to survey the damage. 150 men from the Nevada prison system are manning the fire lines tonight. Authorities hope to have the blaze totally under control by late tomorrow afternoon.
So ahead on News 13, she had a double who used her checks and got her into tax trouble. Tonight, her problems may be over. We'll tell you all about it when we come back.
Oh, I just drove 100 miles to get your super low price VCR.
Where'd you park the truck?
What truck?
What truck? How you gonna get 25 of these babies home?
25?
Read the fine print. In order to get that low price, you gotta buy 25.
25?
Why search for low prices when Federated guarantees it? Buying for 65 superstores saves money. We save it, so you save it. Guaranteed.
What do you mean you had to buy 300 radios to get a good price?
Let us entertain you. Let us make you smile.
I tell you, nowadays, a salad bar at some places can cost you $4, $5, $6 or more. But at Shakey's, for a limited time, buy any pizza, and a trip around our salad bar costs you only 99 cents. Mouth-watering vegetables, lip-smacking fresh fruit, delicious dressings. What a deal! Buy any pizza and get our salad bar for only 99 cents. See you at Shakey's and have a nice trip.
Money orders make things easy. It's getting them where you can run into problems. You can go to the bank, but they keep bankers' hours. You can try the post office, if you get there before it closes. Or you can go straight to 7-Eleven, where now you can get an American Express money order in a matter of seconds. Money orders from today's 7-Eleven, where the good things come easy.
Now, money orders are just 59 cents.
Malaysia, an experience more than you could ever imagine. Because right here on Malaysian airline system, we will treat you like gold.
Gunfire at 3 locations in south central Los Angeles tonight. 6 people were wounded. At least 2 others have been taken to area hospitals with critical injuries. Police say the shootings occurred within moments of each other after 8:30 tonight. The shootings appear to be gang-related, but police are still investigating.
There is some good news tonight for LA's homeless. Mayor Bradley announced an agreement between the city and LA County that will allow the homeless campground to remain open. The site was scheduled to close August the 10th. Now it will stay open through September the 25th. Mayor Bradley says an agreement by the county to provide social services allowed the campground to stay open for now.
We think it's been a major victory today on the principle of having the county fully cooperative, doing everything that is reasonable and that meets the needs that we've outlined.
The mayor says the lawsuit filed by the city pressured the county into providing those services. Wendy.
In Oakland, little Michelle Poole has celebrated her first birthday. Well, last year, as you might recall, her birth gained national attention because she was born to a brain-dead woman. Lloyd LaQuesta reports on the struggle of Michelle's father to bring her into this world.
32-year-old Derek Poole playing today with his daughter Michelle Odette Poole, 1 year old today. Marie Odette Henderson was Michelle's mother, whose body was allowed to die immediately after Michelle was born. But Henderson actually was declared brain dead 2 months earlier when she suffered a stroke. Poole had to go to court to keep doctors from taking his girlfriend off life support machines. He and Henderson had never married, and her parents did not want the pregnancy to continue. The courts held in favor of the father, and eventually there was a successful birth, and the past year has seen reconciliation with the estranged grandparents. And it's also given Derek Poole time to lay to rest his love for his daughter's mother and to get on with life.
I remember when Michelle came from the hospital the first couple of weeks, it was really hard for me then, I was crying a lot like a mother, I guess. That's what the doctor told me. That, I couldn't really look at her because when I looked at her, I seen Odette, right? And when I would look at the baby, I was right away busting into tears and everything. So.
Does she look like her mother?
There's the bra.
Father and daughter now live with Michelle Germany and her 22-month-old son Eric. Germany was the best friend of Odette Henderson, and now she and Poole think of marriage and being a family for the children.
Right now, Michelle's got 2 bottom teeth coming in, so I can imagine I'm going to be up the next 6 months. I'm pretty late here. I'm just taking it one day at a time, just watch her grow and make sure she's, put a little discipline in her and, make sure she grow up and be somebody well-respected and everything.
And no matter what you do with your personal life, she'll always know her mother eventually?
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's guaranteed.
Happy birthday. In Oakland, Lloyd LaQuesta.
Black leaders from all over the country met in Los Angeles today in preparation for tomorrow's Black Family Reunion celebration. Today was a think tank conference to address the issues and the problems faced by the black family in this country. Tomorrow there will be a free festival at Exposition Park.
The National Council of Negro Women seeks to really project and reaffirm the traditional values of the black family. We feel that there have been so many negative projections that they even have a negative impact upon us and our children. And so we call the Black Family Reunion as a celebration of our traditional values.
The sponsors say they expect as many as 100,000 people will turn out tomorrow to celebrate the black family experience.
Many people think the deadly disease AIDS primarily affects homosexuals and intravenous drug users. Well, today, News 13 reporter Sylvia Lopez talked to local experts who stressed that even heterosexuals are at risk.
To date, 27 heterosexual AIDS cases have been reported in Los Angeles County. That number is increasing at the rate of about 1 new case a month. Although the figure remains relatively low, less than 1% of all AIDS cases here, medical experts say heterosexuals shouldn't become complacent.
If our teenage population starts to have more infection in it, many of these things that can occur and the heterosexual activity will be there, and that will be another way, another increasing way in which the infection is spread in Los Angeles.
One recent study in the New England Journal of Medicine shows more young people and women are becoming infected than ever before. Researchers say that proves once again AIDS is no longer a gay disease. Although there are signs that heterosexuals are changing their lifestyles to prevent the spread of AIDS, Dr. Wilbert Jordan says teens and young adults in particular aren't doing enough.
I see very little seriousness about this problem. I think there's a lot of hype and over-dramatization, but I don't think they really realize it could be them.
Heterosexuals in general are still light years behind the gay community in AIDS education. One poll released this week shows nearly half of all Americans know little or nothing about the deadly disease. In Los Angeles, Sylvia Lopez, News 13.
Stay with us. We'll be right back with more news.
Still ahead on News 13, tragedy on Long Island as dead dolphins start washing ashore. And is this convicted con man at it again?
Quite easily, one would say that those funds were misused and that the investors were misled.
He just says a lot of things that are not true.
And we'll show you a beer that won't give you a hangover.
Use this amazing cost-cutting device to cut out manufacturers' coupons. Then bring them to Bonds, and we'll automatically double their value. And here's some more ways to save at Bonds. With Bonds half-price sale, Roseacre Farms Grade A large eggs are just 98 cents an 18-pack, and Tropicana orange juice only 84 cents a half-gallon carton. Just two of Vons many half-price specials, plus Vons unlimited double coupons still going strong and saving you more.
Exploding live at the Universal Studios Tour, the Miami Vice Action Spectacular. No one's ever pulled a stunt like this.
This Friday, Saturday, Sunday, the Red Tag Fashion Sale at May Company. Take an extra 33% off every already reduced Red Tag price, only at May Company.
The most punishing road in Europe is not the Appian Way in Italy. You will not find it in a remote section of the Tyrolean Alps, or even some medieval village. Mercedes-Benz engineers would say they built it here, in Sindelfingen, West Germany. A test of strength more brutal than any road, punishing the car for weeks on end, because in their quest for durability, Mercedes-Benz engineers just don't know when to stop.
Take a look at the washers.
I could have bought a better TV.
Oh, come on, dear. We came to see a washer.
I could have bought a better TV.
Well, the department store didn't have that one.
I could have bought a better TV.
For less.
For less! Should have gone to Circuit City.
With Circuit City's vast selection of brand name audio, video, and appliances, and guaranteed low prices, you'll never be sorry.
I could have bought a better TV.
Circuit City, the intelligent choice.
An earthquake measuring 5.5 on the Richter scale shook the Northern California coastline this afternoon. The epicenter of the shaker was about 30 miles south of Eureka, near the Humboldt County line. Nobody was hurt in that tumbler, but it did break a few windows, knock merchandise off of shelves in nearby communities. The 15-second quake and its aftershocks were felt up and down the coast for nearly 100 miles.
The Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation has had to take over the Empire National Bank in Westwood. Empire National closed its doors yesterday when auditors declared the bank totally insolvent.
The bank was declared insolvent by the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency, and the appointed FDIC receiver was declared insolvent, and the bank was closed at 4 o'clock yesterday afternoon. We attempted to find a buyer for the bank, and there were no successful bidders, and we therefore are in the process of paying off depositors. We're trying to reconcile all of the accounts, and we will be prepared to start paying the depositors at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning.
As you may have seen, the FDIC will hold regular hours at the bank for the next 2 weeks to enable depositors to come by and collect their money. This is the 5th bank failure in California this year.
A financial shot in the arm tonight for the Southland. NASA has announced that the 5th shuttle will be built by Rockwell International. The orbiter will cost $1.3 billion to assemble, and with added items like crew equipment and mission-specific hardware lost on Challenger, the total bill will be over $2 billion. This will enable Rockwell to extend 1,500 jobs, mostly from the B-1 bomber program, and to create 500 new ones. The 5th orbiter will be ready in April of 1991.
One LA City Fire Department spokesman calls it an impending disaster. It is a cargo ship filled with coal that is on the verge right now of catching fire. The ship has been anchored in LA Harbor for 5 weeks now. Many attempts have been made